Hey everybody, welcome to Culinary Characters Unlocked. I'm David Page. On this episode, a couple of midwestern farm kids who met and married while pursuing culinary careers that took them to some of the best restaurants in the world. Now they're running a place of their own in Minneapolis, and it won the 2025 James Beard Award as Best New Restaurant in America. Here are Adam Ritter and Jeanie Janas Ritter. Chef Jeanie, thanks for being here. How are you?
We're great.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Well, listen, big news. Best New Restaurant in America?
Isn't it crazy?
Oh, you tell me.
It's crazy.
How's it feel?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Still sinking in because we're trying to catch up, like doggy paddling out of the busyness, but it feels awesome now that we're able to reflect a little bit.
What do you think won it for you?
I think it's the complete package. Obviously, the food is amazing, but I think the hospitality, the service, the experience as a whole, it really is at the same level for every part of the experience. And I think that people have been missing that and wanting that. And I feel like it's felt when you come and have dinner here.
Well, that's interesting. A number of the articles I've read talk about the feel of the restaurant. In some cases, they tie it to the name. Explain the name. What's it mean?
It's Bûcheron, so it's means lumberjack in French, or like man of the woods.
Yeah, well, you're not providing a lumberjack experience to the best of my knowledge. So what is it they're getting at? What are you getting at in terms of the feel?
What we were trying to get at is we love like taking trips up the North Shore here in Minnesota, right on Lake Superior. And we wanted to like bring a little bit of that feel back to the city. That was really like the model of the restaurant. How do we make it feel Minnesotan, Midwest?
But all rooted in French at the same time.
Yep.
So the technique is all based on French technique, but we bring in as many local ingredients as we can. We really focus on having an energy and a feel in the space that is authentic and comfortable and genuine, but elevated. And it's our biggest goal with this restaurant was to make it a place that would not exist in any other city. This is a Minneapolis restaurant. You travel in from out of town, it feels like it has a sense of place. And that was really a big deal for us.
With all due respect, I lived in Minneapolis. And I've worked a fair amount as a journalist in France.
Mm-hmm.
Those are not the same culture. How do you meld them?
We look to, like food-wise, we look towards the bistronomy movement in France, which is a bunch of chefs who worked in Michelin-starred restaurants, but they open more of these casual neighborhood corner spots where no tablecloths, no fancy wine glasses, just regular wine glasses, but still nice and approachable. So that was kind of our goal. You could come in here on a weekday for really, really cheap, like small dinner, or you could come in here and order caviar and have an extravagant dinner too. There is a Michelin dinner in our menu, but there's also a casual dinner there as well. And we wanted to keep that open to everybody.
One writer said of the food, I'm going to quote here, it tastefully orchestrates the midpoint between plebeian and prosaic. Is that right?
It's funny because we've spent all these years working in fine dining restaurants, but we're casual people. It really is hitting that level of fine dining. We use all the technique, all the great ingredients, but we just present it. There's no fuss. We're not putting on a show. We're just serving great food.
And I want to dive deep into that food in a bit. But first, I want to talk about how you got here. Chef, you were described in one article as, quote, a baby-faced Minnesota farm boy, you read that article,
yeah,
with one of those smiles that looks as if he is apologizing, despite a resume spangled with 5 Michelin stars over 3 continents. Any reaction to that? And is that, I guess you're baby-faced? And
yeah, I think it's kind of...
You grew up on a farm, right?
Kind of accurate. Maybe too accurate.
Well, tell me, I mean, literally, you're a Minnesota farm boy. Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up on a farm about an hour and 15 minutes north of here from the restaurant. My parents still bring produce from that area down on the weekends when they come watch the kids on the weekend for us. So Jeanie can work service. Grew up there, worked at a bar and grill, started as a dishwasher.
Was it easier to work as a dishwasher than planting and weeding for your parents?
It's different. I wouldn't say it's any harder or easier, just different.
So this was, you're in high school or something, you want some extra money, you get a job as a dishwasher.
Yep, I was a bad kid, a little skateboarder kid, needed an outlet.
Oh, so your parents told you to go get a gig, huh?
Yeah,
Probably.
basically. Yeah.
Your wife described you in one article as a little shit?
It's again accurate.
Okay. So you become a dishwasher. Had the light gone off before that at home? Was it a big food environment?
Not really. It's just like one of the memories I have is we had like a raspberry bush in a garden close to the house. And a big memory was like we'd make a waffle and like run out and pick raspberries from the bush while the waffle was in the iron and come back and you throw it on top. But besides that, like not crazy. Like my mom cooked, but it was more like the midwestern church basement recipes, that have 1 can of this with 2 cans of that.
Well, let's use the term. You're talking Minnesota hot dish, right?
Yeah, exactly.
With mushroom soup and tater tots.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to get to it later, but one writer described you do an elevated, I guess, potato dish that is likened to wonderful tater tots in one of the reviews. Okay, so you're growing up on a farm, you become a dishwasher.
Yep.
The light goes off. You say, I want to go to culinary school?
Yeah, I just like the intensity. A bunch of the cooks were going into Minneapolis for a concert, so they needed a cook that night, and they asked me to cook. So I kind of just fell into it that way. They said I did awesome, so they started me as a cook, and now the rest is history. I just started doing it, and I was like, wow, this is pretty good. And like, I remember one service, it was a New Year's Eve night there, and we had tickets like across the board, around like a spindle, and like another stack on the window, just like going down like crazy. They brought over the bartender who was a army cook because the cook next to me was just like ghost face. He was gone. I stayed calm in that crazy environment. So I think for me, like that's how I just fell into it. It just felt natural.
Jeannie, you grew up on a farm also, right?
I did. I'm an Indiana farm girl.
Okay. And what's the difference between an Indiana farm and a Minnesota farm?
Different church basement, but pretty much the same. Yeah.
Better sweet corn.
Better sweet corn, I will say that.
And how did the culinary light go off for you?
I loved cooking for as long as I can remember. We grew up in kind of a similar way. Like my mom could cook a mean pot roast, but very like Midwestern classics. And I started dishwashing actually a banquet hall down the road from my house as a kid. And I just loved it. I absolutely fell in love with it. And the owner of that banquet hall, his son was going to school at the CIA at the time. And I learned about the CIA and
The Culinary Institute of America, not the spy agency.
Exactly. And I just decided, I was determined I was going to go and be a chef.
So you went off to the CIA. And chef, you went to culinary school also. Where'd you go?
Turned 18, decided to move to Los Angeles with 2 high school friends, and then went to Le Cordon Bleu in Pasadena, California.
Doesn't have the same cachet that CIA does.
I know, yeah.
He's the chef now, so there you go.
But that's a decision you made. Okay, so both of you, after culinary school, jump into the restaurant biz at a relatively high level, right? I mean, Jeannie, you went to Alice Waters' Chez Panisse. Was that straight out of culinary school?
It was my externship while I was in culinary school. So I moved to New York, and then I moved to Berkeley when I was 19 years old and just had my world rocked. It was amazing.
And how was your world rocked by Alice Waters and Chez Panisse?
I think just the exposure of people who thought so differently.
How did they think different? I mean, we're not talking politics. We're talking food here, presumably.
I mean, politics too. It was just like there was a different level of respect for food and ingredients than I knew before. Well, maybe not that I knew, but it was acknowledged and it was talked about. So that respect for food was always there for me, but it was more of a conversation. And I think that just the commitment to quality and exposure to so many different kinds of people from all over the world with different backgrounds and different beliefs, I just hadn't experienced that before.
But here you are at a restaurant that is generally regarded as the beginning of the farm to table movement. Mm-hmm. You grew up on a farm where presumably you were taking some of that food and putting it on your table. Was it different to see it being applied so assiduously in fine dining? What were the revelations?
I think it was the application and just the breadth of variety that was there that I didn't know. Of course, I grew up and we would eat a tomato right off the plant and have amazing fresh produce. But then I got to California and there were 20 different varieties of tomato. There were all of these different vegetables that I had never seen before and never experienced. I started to learn about wine. That's a world that I knew nothing about. Just being in that place, tasting the food, tasting the wine, learning more about sustainability and the process that supports it. And again, all of these were practices that we kind of quietly did at home, but I never truly appreciated it until I got to Chez Panisse.
Did you get to work with Alice Waters herself?
Not much. She wasn't there very often at the time, but that team is just incredible. And there were people who had been there for 20, 30 years and still going as strong as they did in the beginning. It really was a very special place to be.
And we'll be right back. Okay, Chef, you too got out of culinary school.
Yep.
And into fine dining at a high level. What was your path? You went to Vegas?
Yeah, so I started out in Los Angeles right after school, worked at a Morton Steakhouse, and then worked at Omni Hotel downtown. Both had like product that was pre-made brought in. So it's not quite what I was looking for. I had a friend who moved to Vegas. He was working at the Ritz-Carlton out there on Lake Las Vegas. So I just decided to move out and become roommates with him.
You just do this, I'm going to move and be someone's roommate thing on a regular basis.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best thing about cooking is you can travel with it. Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so you go to Vegas. You're living on his couch, I guess, or did he have a guest room?
Just signed a lease with him, got my own room, saved some money in LA. I was working 2 full-time jobs to pay off a car.
You got hired by Joel Robuchon?
Yeah. Funny story. Like at the time I was 19 and I didn't even know who he was. So just went in there. Oh, there's this big time chef coming to MGM Grand. Went in, did an interview.
Not with him. I mean, he wasn't doing the hiring, was he?
No, his chefs, but he was there. He was there.
One of the greatest chefs in the history of all food, and he was hanging out there?
He was there, yep. And then we spent like 2 weeks downstairs in their kind of big commissary kitchen, just cooking. They would bring in 5 different foie gras, 5 different guinea hens from all these different farmers to try and choose.
Did you have the job, or was this like a stage to try to get the job?
I didn't know what was going on.
Were you getting a paycheck?
Yes, I was. So didn't know what was going on. 2 weeks they just did this, and at the time I didn't even know, they were just trying to figure out what the best products were here in America because it was their first restaurant in America. So they were just vetting all the different products. After the 2 weeks, they just said, okay, all of you over here, all of you over here, and all of you over here. And they said that all of you're our AM team. You guys are our PM team. So they put me on garde manger on the PM.
Explain garde manger to folks who don't know.
So garde manger is the cold side of the kitchen. So everything cold.
Which is not the prestigious side.
No, that's where you start. That's the bottom. That's where a 19-year-old starts. Yeah. They chose me for garde manger. And then the other group of people, they said, sorry, you got to move on. You don't have a job. So some of those people looked at me as a 19-year-old kid, a little angrily, but I made the squad. So
what do you think did it for you? You're 19. Yes, you've been to culinary school. Again, I'll make a joke out of it, but not CIA.
Yeah.
What was the spark you showed that allowed you to get that gig?
I mean, I loved it. I had a passion for it. I was like, this is it. Even when I was at school back in Pasadena, we had a event to help out Wolfgang Puck at the Academy Awards. He does that every year. I just remember getting a paycheck from that and being like, this is the coolest thing ever. It was probably nothing, but I was like, this is so cool. I get to get paid for this. It just didn't make sense. I loved it that much that it's insane for me to get paid for it.
You go to work for Joel Robuchon in the MGM Grand, I guess?
Yep.
At L'Atelier de Joel Robuchon.
Yeah.
You then moved to another one of his restaurants, the Mansion. Where was that also at the MGM Grand?
Yeah, the kitchens are connected.
That one got 3 Michelin stars while you were there.
Yeah, it did. Yep. I have a letter still at my house that's signed by the director. Congratulations on 3 Michelin stars. Pretty cool.
What were you doing at that point?
That point I moved around that kitchen quite a bit too.
Had you gotten off the cold side?
Yes, I think I was on the meat side there, and I was getting it from those meat guys because I moved over. I was still young. They were really putting me through it, but I got that letter and I just was charged every day. So
what'd you learn?
Everything.
Yeah, but what's the essence of it? I mean, there's something that produces a 3-star restaurant and the others don't.
I think the biggest thing, what I learned there was how the French look at food and how seriously they take it. Get serious. Learn to taste.
We're all born tasting stuff. What do you mean learn to taste?
I tell the cooks all the time, that's your number one thing. They overlook tasting. Why does this work? What is good about this ingredient? The salt, acid. When you're a young cook, you always get those two kind of mixed up. They kind of overlap each other. It's hard to tell the difference. They would stop you and really taste it. And that's where I learned. And also ingredients. If you start with a bad ingredient, it's hard to have a good outcome. And his ethos was always a carrot should taste like a carrot, but you just make it taste like a better carrot. So the answer is everything.
You both ended up going overseas to work. Where'd you meet each other?
We met in Las Vegas at dollar drinks and dollar bowling at the Orleans Casino would start at midnight.
Oh, hold on. You were working in Vegas?
I was. So after the CIA, I realized there's so much more to the world of restaurants.
And Chez Panisse was part of your CIA experience.
Chez Panisse was part of my CIA. So after
You moved to Vegas?
I moved to Vegas, I got my bachelor's at UNLV and I started working front of the house just to gain some experience on the other side of things while I was in Vegas.
In what restaurant?
Mon Ami Gabi at the Paris Casino.
Pardon me, I don't know it. Is it a well-regarded restaurant?
It's a Let Us Entertain You restaurant.
Oh, Melman out of Chicago.
Exactly. Yep. It's casual, but it's really well done. You can go in, you're going to get a good steak frite. It's like bistro style.
It's right across from the Bellagio fountain.
So yeah, we would get rocked. I mean, we would do like 1,500 cover services. So
Crazy.
Good quality, but crazy numbers.
Were you cooking?
No, I started as a host and I worked my way up to serving.
Why did you leave the kitchen and go into front of the house?
It was never like an intentional, I'm leaving the kitchen. I knew that I wanted to be as well-rounded as I could be. And so I looked at the next step as learning how to do front of the house as well as back of the house. So I'd had that experience. I wanted to learn more.
Front of the house, pardon me, some people dismiss it as like you're standing by the front door handing out menus, he's doing the work.
Yeah.
What is front of the house, really?
I mean, it's the heartbeat of a restaurant. It's the hospitality. It's how you make people feel. It's, of course, service. It's getting the food and the drinks and everything to their plate. But so much more of it is you are the ones who create the experience beyond just the food.
Okay, so back to Vegas. You're in Vegas. You go bowling?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we met at like 4:00 in the morning at a bowling alley.
Wait a second. Everybody looks attractive at 4 a.m. Now, you're both attractive people, but...
Dollar beers, dollar bowling.
Okay. Did you bond over culinary? Did you bond over... what happened?
I think we bonded over our background.
Yeah.
Like we both were Midwest farm kids living in Las Vegas. We definitely connected on that. It was just easy from the beginning to connect.
Did you end up working together?
When we moved to California.
Back in a moment. Next stop is California?
Yep.
Yeah, so I graduated from UNLV. Adam had been at Robuchon for 4 years. He was ready for the next move. And so we wound up moving to Sonoma County and we worked with Douglas Keene at Cyrus. They had just gotten 2 Michelin stars.
Whoa. So what were you each doing there?
So Adam was in the kitchen and I was a food runner.
Let me phrase this politely. That's kind of a step down, isn't it? Food runner?
No, not at all. I learned, being at that level of a restaurant, I had never experienced anything like that. We had champagne carts, we had caviar carts. It was a very collaborative service level and I was learning every single day. So maybe in terms of title, it's a step down, but it was 100% a step up in my journey of learning.
And what'd you learn there?
I think like Nick Payton style.
Yeah. So I worked with Nick Payton, who is this iconic California maitre d'. He worked for Gary Danko in, the 80s. And he is a really, really special man. And I think that more than anything, I learned that fine dining could be fun. We gave a very high level. It was high intensity. We were pushing for 3 stars the entire time that we were there. And that was really the goal. And so everybody was invested. Everybody was on board. But at the same time, we had fun with people. We laughed in the dining room. It wasn't stuffy service. We looked for moments of hospitality all the time. You could go there and have this incredible meal and really have fun.
According to a bio I read of you, you ended up, it says you led teams at Cyrus. So you obviously got promoted to what?
I did. And so I continued to move up at Cyrus and I actually moved to their casual restaurant called Hildesburg Bar and Grill. And so that was my first management job. So I knew that I wanted to get into management. I was 25. I moved to HBG and I started managing a team for the first time while I was there.
Now, chef, you were cooking at Cyrus?
Yep. Started as a line cook and then worked up to a sous chef there.
Wow. That's pretty quick at a pretty high level. Did you realize you had that something that not everyone has? Don't give me the Minnesota modesty crap.
I think so. I had confidence. I think like my biggest thing was even at Robuchon, one of the chefs, Philippe Braun, he's one of the heads of their company. And he told me like that I'm going to be really good one day because of my attention to detail. And not only like how it looks, but the taste, everything. So I knew I had like good attention to detail and my drive, like I wanted to make everything as perfect as I could. I really cared a lot, maybe too much.
How do you care too much? Did you take it home with you at night if there was a bad...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Or like kind of maybe sometimes it's like getting on somebody if something wasn't perfect because it was for the end goal or whatever it was. Like I just really had the passion to try and make it as perfect as we could for everything.
Okay, so rather rapidly, you've both ascended from culinary school to a 2-star restaurant. You're doing great. And one day you just up and leave for Asia?
Well, it didn't quite happen that way.
Okay, how did it happen?
We had been at Cyrus for 2.5 years, in kind of the world of gaining experience in restaurants. That's a good amount of time. You've spent the first year really learning and mastering the skill. I think you kind of send that second year giving back for the learning that you've had. 2 years is a really good amount of time. And so we were ready for something else. We were, 26? We weren't ready to stay and retire into the wine country.
Yeah, that doesn't happen till you're 30. Yeah.
Couldn't afford it.
Couldn't afford
exactly.
it. Otherwise, we'd be there.
Yeah. And my sister-in-law is from Malaysia. We were planning a trip to Southeast Asia for their wedding. At first, we decided we were going to save up and travel. And then we kind of one day just said, what the hell? Why don't we try and live there? Like, if we're ever going to do it, now is the time. So we had a few contacts in Singapore. The restaurant scene was booming. We literally just looked at the 50 best list. We picked 2 restaurants that were on it that we thought looked great and applied and got jobs.
Who got a job where and what'd you do?
So I got a job at Andre. The chef is Andre Chang. He's a Taiwanese chef, but he worked in France for like 13 years in the south of France. And they were like number 34 on the San Pellegrino list at the time.
There's a pattern here of UN French food.
Yep. Now looking back, maybe I would have chose different paths so you learn a little bit more about everything. But I kind of stuck to that path because it's what you know.
Okay, so you're at number 34. Where were you, Jeanie?
I was at a restaurant called Iggy's that was number 26 on the 50 best list.
Oh, you got him by 8 spots. Yeah, okay.
But another super fine dining tasting menu. Beautiful restaurant.
And you worked at a couple of other places?
I did. So I was at Iggy's for 6 months, and then they were opening, the owners and some new partners were opening a very traditional kaiseki restaurant. It was a 21-seat kaiseki counter.
Kaiseki being?
Japanese tasting menu. So very traditional Japanese tasting menu experience. We had an izakaya and a ramen shop as well.
An izakaya, that's
Japanese bar.
A bar.
So cocktail bar with kind of elevated bar food.
I assume you're still front of the house. How did the Japanese hospitality ethos impact you?
The entire experience was unbelievably challenging. It's funny because I remember saying before we left, I want to be taken out of my comfort zone. I want to be challenged.
And you were.
Ooh, I had no idea what that meant. And man, did I get it.
Well, explain that. How was it challenging? How was it different?
In the beginning, the biggest challenge was that we couldn't find staff. Singapore was going through this wild transition of growth, while at the same time as the government was really trying to keep that population Singaporean. But in Singapore, there really isn't the same American mentality of like good hard work for kids is good. Instead, it's that your kids need to study. They should not work because if they're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or a banker, they need to study and do the best that they can in school. So we were in this really challenging time of needing Singaporeans. You had to have 5 Singaporeans for every foreign work visa that you could get, but you couldn't find Singaporeans. And so the first 3 or 4 months of us opening that restaurant, there was me and a Chinese man who spoke no English and would not look me in the eye. And we did everything. We worked 6 days a week. We would be polishing glassware until 3 o'clock in the morning. It was horrible. It was really, really, really hard.
Is that why you came back to the States?
No, we stuck it out. We said we were going to do 2 years in Singapore, and we did 2 years in Singapore. I really was challenged with the people that I worked with at that restaurant, and I left. I had met a team of chefs through some CIA connections. They had just opened a Culinary Institute campus in Singapore. So I met a team of guys who had all worked together at the Fat Duck, and they were there opening a restaurant. And so I joined their team and I said, hey, I'm going to be here for a year. I'll go all in with you guys for a year and do everything that I can to make this great. And so I did a whole nother restaurant opening.
The Fat Duck, I should know. I don't remember. Where is it?
In Bray,
Yeah.
UK.
Oh, that's Heston.
Yeah.
Heston Blumenthal, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you did your 2 years. You came back to the States. You landed in Chicago, worked at a few places.
We did. So that's where my family lived. And we thought, well, we lived in these places. Maybe it's time to head back to the Midwest.
So you worked there for a while, but Minnesota's calling you, right?
Yeah. So like we said before, I grew up here and we were just like working in Chicago. We eventually wanted to start a family, and it just seemed like we couldn't really get ahead in Chicago with the lifestyle we were doing with cooking. Moved back here, and I reached out to Gavin Kaysen at Spoon and Stable.
The Spoon and Stable being a restaurant group or a restaurant?
It's a restaurant. The restaurant group's Soigné Hospitality.
He hired you?
Yeah, we came up here, checked it out. He hired me there.
What about Jeanie?
Yeah, so he was opening another restaurant, French restaurant, a bistro-ish restaurant out in Wayzata. I put Jeanie in touch with him, and he hired her as the general manager there. So again, same company, different restaurant, but working together.
Okay, now you ended up cooking at Demi.
Yep.
Which one writer declared probably the best restaurant in the history of the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
You were up for a James Beard Award the year they were canceled.
Yep.
How was that experience?
Oh, it was awesome. So I had worked at all these places, never got a chance to be the head chef. Gavin gave me that chance at Demi. I knew I could write like one good menu, but could I keep creating and keep coming up with new stuff and keep pushing? Like that's kind of like the scary part of making the transition from like a sous chef to head chef. Can you create? Can you do what these chefs who you worked for? Can you continue on what you were learning from them?
I guess you could.
Yeah.
Because the restaurant got nominated for the same James Beard Award you've now won, Best New Restaurant. And
yeah.
The awards were canceled that year. Was it COVID?
We opened in 2019 and then they canceled because of COVID. Yeah.
Okay. You're there and you decide, this is good, but I want my own place.
Yeah.
How'd that happen for you guys? What was the impetus? Because I've read that part of it was you wanted a more stable lifestyle. Well, how do you have a more stable, family-oriented lifestyle in the most financially dangerous business on earth, trying to make a restaurant work?
You build it. You build it. We ended up closing Belcourt, the restaurant that I was running, when I was 5 months pregnant in 2020. So I had our first son, Jack. Everything turned upside down. You know, we'd planned and waited, and then that all got thrown out the window. And we spent a couple of years really trying to figure out how to have kids and still be in the restaurant business. And it was unbelievably hard. It's really hard to be in this business and to do it with small children. And we felt that, hey, we've done this long enough. We can do this in a smarter way. So everything that went into building this restaurant was with our family in mind. The biggest thing that we've done is we've created a team here and a structure that allows us to be parents too.
Let's back up.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, this all started one day you were taking a walk and you saw a place for rent?
Right in our neighborhood, yep.
So I was just wrapping up 3 months of unpaid maternity leave, a really great time to decide to open a restaurant. We walked by our building and it's funny because when we were thinking about moving to Minneapolis, we came and had dinner at the restaurant that was here previously. And we thought, oh, this is a cool little spot. This feels like such a cool city neighborhood space. We looked in the window. We were walking with our baby George, and the woman who works next door popped her head out and said, hey, are you looking for Revival, which was the restaurant that had closed? And we said, oh, no, we've always liked this space. We work in restaurants. And she goes, oh, well, this guy just bought it. He also owns the coffee shop down the street. So we're on a walk back. And I said, you know what? Why don't I just email? What's it going to hurt? We could at least email him. And it's funny because during my maternity leave, we talked about opening a restaurant for a long time. And Adam was saying to me at different points, hey, let's go. We've got to work on our concept. We've got to start building this out. And I'd say, you're out of your mind. I just had a baby. Like, I'm not trying to open a restaurant. And there's something about it that just felt right. So we dove right on in.
And risked pretty much everything.
Yeah, completely everything.
Totally.
We got an SBA loan. We had to sign over everything. Our house, our cars, literally everything to our name became collateral. And we worked as long as we could while working on opening the restaurant because we just couldn't afford to do it otherwise.
Now, you told Gavin you were doing that, right?
The day we signed the lease.
Yep. I had always told him like, hey, I want to open a restaurant someday. And then sat him down, told him, hey, it happened. We signed a lease today. I want to let you know as soon as possible. And we gave him a 6-month notice. Kind of funny. I told him at the time too that our sous chef Corey is coming with me.
Ooh.
Yeah. But I was like, yeah, but we have the restaurant set up for you already. We ran that restaurant very much as like, he always talks about, you kind of develop like your minor league team. So you have the next chef ready to go. And it's very clear to everybody like that hierarchy, who's next. So after like I told him, no, we have Alan and Jordan. And he was like, oh, okay, totally. Like, and we gave him 6-month notice. Corey stayed there longer. I left a little bit before, but yeah, told him right away.
So this is one of those happy ending stories where the relationship did not fall apart?
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm happy to say all of my chefs I could go back to.
Wow.
Which I feel is really important and maybe unusual
Oh, yeah.
nowadays. Yeah.
You take the risk, you go in hawk, you got, at this point, 2 kids, 3 kids?
2 kids, a baby and a toddler.
Perfect time to open a restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect.
Especially post-COVID,
Yeah.
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 where restaurants are dropping like flies.
Yeah.
You open the doors. How's it go?
It was amazing.
We did 2 buyouts before we opened.
Explain that. What's a buyout?
We had these lovely people come up to us who wanted to help us out. They've done this to other restaurants. And they offered to buy the restaurant out for a dinner for like 34 people.
These are just folks who have a charitable feeling toward restaurateurs?
No, I mean, they were old regulars of ours, and it was a cool experience for them because they also got to bring their friends to the cool new restaurant before it opened to the public. So they were the first ones to be in our space. Our construction team was amazing, and we had the restaurant earlier than we thought we would. And so during that time, we said, okay, well, why don't we do these dinners? We can make a little bit of cash to float us through until January. It was in December. So we did holiday parties.
December of what year?
2024, January of 2024 was when we opened.
That's right. You are best new restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get a couple of dry runs.
Yeah.
You open the doors. A lot of restaurants open the doors and nobody's there. Did you have traffic right off the bat?
It seems like in Minneapolis, people really love the new restaurant, like going to check it out. And then we opened in January, which is
Colder than hell there.
colder than hell. And it can be like a slower time, but we opened it we thought it might be nice because like you get that new restaurant crowd in a slow time. It would be a slow otherwise. So we thought it might be a perfect time to open.
And we also had spent a lot of years here prior to that, really building the space of regulars, getting to know the local community, the local, like the writers.
So you got good press before you were open.
We did. Yeah.
Demi was also like guest facing. As chefs, we ran all the food. We got to meet a lot of different people, which is unique for cooks and chefs.
You open up, you do well. You win the James Beard Award. Has traffic increased?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I think the biggest difference is that weeknights would be slow. This city is definitely a city that goes out to eat on the weekends. It's not I'm going out 4 nights a week kind of culture. Weeknights would be a little bit quiet sometimes. We're in a neighborhood. We're not in the most dense, high traffic area. And so we would have a hard time filling those like 4:30, 5 o'clock reservations or the 9:30s. And that's the coolest thing now as we look at this dining room at 10 o'clock at night.
That's the biggest difference.
And it's just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the good news.
Yeah.
How about the pressure that comes with having been declared nifty?
Huge.
Does it keep you up at night?
It did for a little bit, but now
She's shaking her head no. Okay.
she's a little more calm than I am.
I don't get as work. I will say that it was the morning after we won the award, it all started to settle in as we're driving back from Chicago and we see the reservations exploding and we're getting all of these phone calls. You don't go into that expecting to win. We had no expectation whatsoever. And so when we did, we really had no preparation for what it could look like after. Right away, we had to start making changes.
That's Sunday because normally we're closed because we took the day off so the staff could go to James Beard, but we opened that Sunday thinking, well, we got to make that day up.
We have to make up that money from that day that we lost. We had no idea, but we had to start hiring immediately. And our focus from the moment that it kind of clicked that it was going to be different was how do we keep this level of quality?
Well, that's the big question. How do you keep that level of quality now that you're being bombarded?
We had to make changes in the kitchen, such as like the sauces. We used to just like heat them up in a pot, but now we just add them to like coffee urns so they're ready to go. We taste them, get them in there hot. Actually, it keeps it better because it doesn't sit there and reduce. How you put it in is how it comes out the entire night. Just like little like streamlined
efficiencies just different
like that,
levels of efficiency, same quality, but really strategic.
Let's talk about what the people who are able to get a reservation get to eat. You're a combination, I guess you say, of Minnesota and France.
Mm-hmm.
When I lived in Minnesota, everyone I knew who hunted would invite us over for venison.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got there, the first thing they would tell you is that they had a secret way to make it edible because it can be so gamey and so tough. It always involved a crock pot and like 12 hours. You're doing venison tartare.
Yeah.
How the hell do you do venison tartare?
We use a really nice venison out of New Zealand.
That has not been shot by some guy down the road in Wayzata.
Doesn't sound very Minnesotan, but you're actually not able to serve the wild here. The most wild stuff we've served here is probably like elk or bison because they go and like field harvest it.
But venison, it's not legal.
Not legal to serve like the whitetail wild here. Yeah.
But the venison that we serve, it's not gamey, but it's flavorful. It's probably my favorite dish on the menu.
Who comes up with the idea of let's serve raw venison?
This guy.
Definitely, I did not come up with that idea. Like somebody's done that before, but we just build on what's been done before, as chefs.
Let's bounce around the menu a little bit. You are lauded for your foie gras, not a typically Minnesotan dish. What makes your foie gras so terrific?
So actually, we use a farm here in Minnesota, Canard. They're in the southern eastern part of Minnesota. Started by a Frenchman from the Pyrenees and his wife, Liz. Amazing foie gras. Delicious.
Like the best foie gras we've ever had.
Foie gras is controversial as hell. Does this involve force feeding?
Yeah. We've been to the farm, though. We've seen it.
I think that the ducks on that farm have better lives than the majority of proteins that you're going to get at any restaurant. Their bodies were made to do the gavage process, which is how it's called in France, for migratory reasons. And so when you watch it being done and it's being done with care, it really does not feel like an invasive process. The ducks come for it. They run right up to the person who does it. It's done by the same person every day. And they really do have a very nice life. So we've always felt good about serving that foie gras.
You're serving it with, now you're getting the cherries where? Wisconsin? Because it comes with sour cherry nectarine jam.
Nectarine jam. And then we get Door County cherries from Door County, Wisconsin. Yep.
And what's the secret? What makes your foie gras so terrific?
I think it's just the technique. We cure it and then we poach it, puree it, and run it through a tammy.
Through a what?
Tammy, it's like a fine sieve. And then we re-emulsify it. And what I really like about it is we reset the fat that separates on top. So you kind of cap it like an old school terrine in that manner. So you get that natural foie fat on top as well.
I'm glad to hear you describing it as a more ethical treatment because I love foie gras and I hate feeling guilty.
Yeah.
Okay. Minnesota meets France and you're serving lobster on spaghetti?
Yeah.
Explain that one to me.
That one, we always say, it's not really Bûcheron, but it's really tasty.
It's okay. Spaghetti with poached lobster sauce, chili, and parsley.
People here growing up in the Midwest, we love shrimp scampi. And it's so simple and easy.
Well, shrimp in butter and garlic, right?
Yeah, and white wine and lemon. But we literally just took that idea and ran with it with lobsters. It's Midwestern in flavor, but there's nothing Midwestern about it, honestly.
It's funny because I think we had some lobster from something. And so we ran that at first as a special. And people went so crazy for it that it was like, all right, we got to keep this one around. It's just delicious.
I started it with uni on top.
Oh, yeah.
During like Santa Barbara uni season. Yeah. But people like the lobster here. So we stuck with the lobster.
Okay, so lobster's a crowd pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a dish that got written up. I don't see on the menu right now, but eel?
In the beginning.
Yeah, we started with eel. And that's kind of a fun story. There's a eel farm. I think it's called US Unagi out in Maine. The people who own and run it, they're from Minnesota. So that was kind of a cool connection. And then we just did like a little tartine with kind of like a quick fermented pepper and cabbage slaw on the bottom. And then made basically like unagi sauce out of all the skins because the skins have a lot of nice gelatinous, smoky flavor.
I noticed that's not still on the menu. Not a big crowd pleaser?
It was. I don't know why we never brought that one back. I'm not sure.
Well, I assume the menu changes regularly.
Yep.
Based on seasonality or what?
We change it probably quarterly, maybe twice in the summer. That's how Minnesota seasons kind of go.
Well, hold on. No, I lived there. What is it? There's winter and then there's road construction season.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, like produce wise here, the best time to be here is late September, early October, because it's like the one season where our farms have the crossover of crops. A lot of our farms, they don't get produce till like June, a lot later than when we were like working out in California. California, I mean, year round.
The dish I referenced earlier that I read about described as tater tots.
The pomme dauphine.
Yeah, what is that?
Basically, you make a pâte à choux. So pâte à choux is what you make like eclairs or cream puffs. It's a flour base that you add a bunch of eggs to it to make a dough that kind of gets hollow. So you can make fritters with it. The pomme dauphine is basically that with potato puree. And then we add a little bit of toasted caraway in there. And then we serve that with malt vinegar powder on top.
Ooh.
And then a little Gruyere cheese dip on the side.
Okay, I've mentioned a bunch of dishes. What are the ones you want to brag about? And what are the ones the crowds love most?
We're still obviously like figuring it out. We're only a year and a half in, but for sure we have a chicken on the menu that people like freak out about. And they always say, I would never order chicken in a restaurant, but it's
a local chicken that it's just a really good piece of meat to begin with. And then it is grilled, stays super juicy and tender. The sauce is what it sets it off to another level.
What's the sauce?
We make a Banyuls reduction with shallots.
A who? A what?
Banyuls vinegar. So it's made from Banyuls wine with a lot of black pepper. People, Midwestern palate, a lot of black pepper, and then like a shallot jam.
Ooh.
So you just kind of bring it down till it gets like jammy. That goes on top of the chicken after we grill it. And then on the bottom is wild rice that we get from Sean Sherman here at Awamni from Indigenous Food.
I know this from living in Minnesota. Wild rice isn't rice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a grass.
That was my one takeaway.
And then we puff wild rice in there, kind of toss it in so you get a little crunchy. And then pea puree and fresh snap peas.
Give me one other dish you're all excited about.
It's got to be the tortellini. So we do in the winter a celery root tortellini, and it's in an acorn chicken consomme. Tortelloni, sorry. Okay. So the acorns are from the oak tree on Adam's parents' farm.
Wait. I have never heard of acorn consomme. Did you invent this?
I don't know. Processing the acorns is a lot of work, a ton of wood, because you got to crack them all. And I was just figuring out like what's an easy way to impart the flavor. So obviously like a stock. So we just crack them all, throw them in a pressure cooker and make an acorn stock that way. And then we thought we had this like special technique to take the tannins out, but it just happens. We learned from a forager, no, it's not the technique. Some trees just don't carry the tannins. And it just happened that my parents' tree at their farm is one of those trees. Serendipitously, like it's kind of crazy.
Okay, not to be Debbie Downer. You're hot right now. The space you're in has previously been inhabited by successful restaurants that don't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The business you're in is tough.
Mm-hmm.
The economy is not kind to restaurants at the moment. How are you going to keep it up?
Just dealing with everything as it comes, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time, and we are in this with our eyes wide open. We've closed restaurants before. We've seen what this industry can bring. And I think that the biggest goal is that we keep executing at the highest level that we are. I look at this award as it's bringing people to our restaurant that might not have already come. The goal is that they come back. And so we are just building this bigger base of people who have awareness of our restaurant. And we have a ton of return guests. That's one of the best things that we've experienced here is how many new regulars we've created. And so the goal is that we just keep building on that and just keep our level of quality and do it for as long as we possibly can.
And I don't want to put a burger on, but if we had to put a burger on, I'd do it.
That's the last step before surrender.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I read you want to open another restaurant.
We do. Yeah. We have a lot of talent in this team, and that's one of the things that has allowed us. It's the biggest thing that's allowed us to open at this level. When you were asking before, how was it when we opened? This is the easiest opening we've ever done. And it's because we did it with a group of people that we have an incredible amount of history with and respect for. Everybody has been all in from the beginning. And I don't think that that's common. You don't find that often.
Opening another restaurant would give them other opportunities?
Yeah.
Would you let one of them run it or something?
Oh, absolutely. And then by stepping back here, it could allow my sous chef, Ricky, to kind of take that next step too. Like we know we have to
build opportunities
for him to grow. But we also know that following your last Debbie Downer statement. So
yeah, well, what kind of restaurant would it be? Do you have ideas? Another cuisine, I presume?
We've tossed around a couple ideas, like another cuisine, yeah. And then also just seems like when you walk into a space, the space kind of talks to you. Like I learned that from a chef is like you open the space, but then you kind of got to allow the space to become what it wants to be.
The restaurant defines itself.
Yeah, you can't really force it, right? It's going to kind of naturally become what it is.
We have a pretty big bank of ideas. none of that. We're not going out looking for this one specific concept. I think it more is like we do so much based on the way it feels. And if it feels right, we're going to go for it. And so depending on finding that right space, I think that's how we'll know what we'll do next.
Well, clearly, Bûcheron feels right to a large and admiring public at the moment.
Thank you. It feels right to us.
Yeah.
You know, that it really, from the beginning, it has felt really special. And it like the ultimate validation that people also feel that way.
It's also really small. And like, back to like before, we told everybody our slow time was summer. So we told them, oh yeah, take off in summer. But now we have a patio and we won that award. So I was like,
it's been a busy summer.
Yeah.
You guys are a delight to talk with. I'm so pleased for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on this wonderful award and on your success. And thank you for taking the time to chat.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
Really a pleasure to meet you. Come and have dinner with us the next time you're in Minneapolis.
Oh, I will. Absolutely.
We would love it.
Put the eel back on the menu.
Okay. We'll have it.
Adam and Jeanie Janas Ritter on Culinary Characters Unlocked. I'm David Page, and I'll see you next time.